So hello. Right now we are here with John Cutler, and he's a senior product manager. Okay, was a senior product manager like 2 weeks ago at Zendesk. So John, nice to meet you here in
nice
Lviv
to meet you.
and in IT Arena.
Yeah, wonderful to meet you.
Yeah, so cool. Tell me more and tell us more. What are you doing at all? I mean, what are you doing as a product manager, and how did you get to this position?
You know, I think I actually took a pretty long route to product management. I did some work as business analyst, some work in production. I worked at Nickelodeon and Viacom and MTV doing presentations and annual events and things actually similar to this type of event. And then I got involved in UX and UX research, and then I took that path into product management. So, yeah, generally, I took a long road to product management, which is one of the wonderful things about product management is that you can, it's something that people from different careers can get involved in even later in their life because it draws on the experience you have from different parts of your life. So, in fact, if someone says that they're 24 and then says they're a product manager, I usually say, well, okay, let's
too young.
Yeah, let's have a conversation and then see where you want to start.
And concerning your movements, you said that you were a business analyst and then you moved more to UX research. How did you realize that you want to go to UX research at all?
You know, I think that UX research appealed to me because I think some people are just born why askers. They just keep asking why in these situations. And, you know, often the business analyst stuff, you couldn't go quite as deep as you wanted to. You're very much dealing in the business case and what you're dealing with. Whereas with UX research, you could go and live with a customer, you know, or you could really push the limits in terms of what you learn. So I think that it just seemed like a natural evolution. But honestly, there's a lot of overlap. Some of the best business analysts that I know would make great UX researchers. There's a lot of overlap between these roles.
Yeah, and concerning overlaps, so we are talking about the product management in Zendesk, about this period of your life, and how this UX and business analyst part was included into your product management role. Because as I know, in companies, especially on big products, there are a lot of teams are working in. I mean, not teams, but team members like UX researcher, I don't know, graphic designers and product managers and marketing guy, etc. So how it works in your company? How it worked?
You know, I think that's one of the interesting things in product management is that really no two companies have a similar structure. And it's kind of a fascinating thing that you read books about product management. It says, well, make your team like this or make your team like that. And the reality is across different, before Zendesk, I worked in an analytics company and our customers were product managers. So I would go and visit product managers every day and no two teams were alike in terms of their makeup to do these things. And the way that I tend to think about product management is there's many hats involved in product development. And some of these hats fit under titles, but many of the hats don't fit under titles. For example, I know some UX researchers who would be very highly qualified at wearing many of the hats of product management. And I know many business analysts who also could wear many of the hats of product management. So I don't know if that answers your question, but I think that no two companies are alike, and that's what makes it interesting. And then also, you tend to evolve out of your title when you're working in product development.
So the conclusion is it depends on a company, how it will work. Yeah. Okay, and if to talk about the product management position, I know that Steve Blank, as I remember, he says in his first steps to Epiphany or in his blog that product manager is kind of CEO of a product. But right now there is another thing that product manager is not a CEO of the product. So what do you think about it?
So I have a bias against that statement. And so the bias that I have against it is that you're the CEO if you can fire people and if you're responsible to the board. So I think that came out of Silicon Valley where a lot of the idea of a highly entrepreneurial product manager grew in that environment. But in the complex environments we're working in businesses these days, you know, the reality is as a product manager, you can't fire anyone and you're typically not hiring anyone, right? So you also often have to answer to the CEO. So there can't be two CEOs. there's one CEO in your company. And so I think that came out of a particular thing in Silicon Valley of wanting a highly entrepreneurial product manager, which is completely fair. But I think if people apply that same that same model in, let's say, a complex enterprise product or a complex thing, you're not going to get the same results that you think you might get out of the particular thing. So again, it's very context dependent. I think that in that statement they wanted an entrepreneur who can help drive through results. And in reality, in the workplace, especially in business to business software, your work is far more complex than just running your own little mini startup inside a company. So I think that's where it comes from.
And concerning different types of product managers, because there are some for startups and for B2C products, and also there are some for enterprises and B2B products. Which challenges are the most crucial for those both parties, to your opinion, and what differentiates those both parties?
Actually, I think that the irony of that question is that you see a lot of enterprise products that give a lot of autonomy to the product teams. So it's hard to put enterprise in a box, because you could be a product manager in one enterprise company, and you don't spend a lot of time having to manage up. You can spend a lot of time focused on your team or focused on the customer. So when it doesn't matter enterprise or B2B or B2C or any, SMB or any, or B2B to C or any of those things. The first question is, as the product manager, can you spend most of your day getting context for your team? Now, if the answer is no, then any step after that is having to deal with the internal pressures of your company. So I always say, the product manager, how much time in the day are you spending learning about your customers and what's going to make them successful? And then how much time in the day do you have to spend managing internal people in your company, or trying to push things through with your particular team, or trying to do these things? And so I don't think that the environments themselves, enterprise, you tend to need someone who's going to have to do a little bit more managing internal stakeholders and managing those things. B2C, but then again, I've seen B2C startups where you spend half your time managing the CEO.
Yeah.
So I don't think it's, again, I hate answering it depends on that thing, but the key determining factors is how much time do you need to spend managing the company versus connecting with the customer? And similarly, how much time do you have to spend managing the team versus the team being able to run with the problem that you're doing? If you get a great team who can run with the problem, and you can spend most of your time getting context from the team, from the market and those things, it's really, no matter the environment, that's the ideal situation. And so anything after that is, it's sort of a local optimization that you're making in that environment that you're going to need to manage. And some of the hardest experiences I've been in is small B2C startup or B2B startup, where again, you spend most of your time managing other employees.
That's the thing which is really good for me right now to hear, because I'm already in this position, because I'm working in a startup as a product manager there. But concerning the role of UX designer and UX researcher in a team, and if to leverage those responsibilities. For example, I'm a product manager and I have a guy who is UX researcher. Who should go to end users? Should I go to internet and search the information, or this guy is going to users, or we are going together, or how it should look like?
So I suggest, in general, the more you can do together as a team, the better. So when I was a UX researcher, we would take our engineers in a van and go and visit the customer with the product manager going at the same time. So I think it's a mistake to think that particular people on the team own a particular source of information. Like you own the customer. You see these drawings where someone owns the customer. You own the user, the other person owns the technology. And in reality, it doesn't work like that so much, or it doesn't work as well as you might want it to think when you do that. So it's unfortunate in some ways because it makes it a lot more complex, but I would suggest in that environment going together.
Yeah, but companies usually do those things, as I can see, because they want to parallel. They don't want to spend money on one kind of activity because it will not bring ROI. And right now I see that you say that, no, it will bring some value in the future.
So I think that one of the biggest mistakes we make in most companies is to assume economies of scale that don't end up existing. And a classic example is you have a piece of technology that you think, let's not build this multiple times. In reality, building something multiple times could actually drive innovation. So we tend to think that if you just build it once, oh my God, it's going to be such a waste if we build it multiple times. What you don't want is you don't want to hit a blocker in your company and then everyone invents their own way because nothing can get done. But if 3 teams solve the same problem in slightly different ways, then you can pick the best solution to move forward to do those things. So what I would say to that is, show me the return and then let's talk the investment. Because everyone talks about ROI and they're talking about the investment. But no one's actually told me what the R is in the ROI. So let's have the conversation when you could give me the R, and then we'll talk about the I. Because we obsess about the I, but where's the R? So.
Yeah, that's a good point here. Yeah, we need to think about it. And concerning your concrete topic here at IT Arena, it's beyond projects, beyond features, yes? If just to summarize all the conclusions from this topic for lazy people who are not listening to your video.
So, the couple tweet version of the talk was, we tend to focus a lot on projects and on features in product development. Even a product manager who is not a project manager spends a lot of time creating projects for other people. And the key takeaway from the talk was projects have a place. We use some examples in the talk, like baking a cake is a project. Getting married might be a project, but marriage is a mission. Or something like that.
Or a phase.
Or a phase. An empathy might be a feature in human terms, right? To these things. So what happens is we tend to focus on projects. We got to get this project done, and we do this thing, and we focus on features. And in the end, those are just vehicles towards delivering value. And one of the key parts in the talk is if you can't bring the benefits of your work close, we just talked about the R and the I, right? In a state where the R is unknown, all you'll ever do is focus on the I. Can we parallelize? Can we get this team working on the next project? What's the next project? Oh my goodness, we're planning the next quarter. Therefore, you need to estimate the project. What am I going to do? Oh, what's the project? Well, let me tell you what it's about. Before you know it, you've invented a solution to a problem, and you haven't tested anything about that particular solution. You've done that only because everyone is obsessed with getting all the planning straight in your organization. So the key is in thinking about beyond projects and beyond features is if you think about missions instead of your work, you start to be able to align people towards creating the benefits you want versus just only solely aligning them around moving work through the system.
And concerning the R, because as I know, there are Vanity Metrics, which Ariel Kreis and other guys are talking about. And there are some really good metrics where you can measure actually the mission and how you approach it. So to your opinion, for Zendesk, what was those metrics? What were those?
Zendesk is an interesting example. I think that we did look at Net Promoter Score. I think Zendesk, when I was there, was very focused on expanding business. So in reality, there's a lot of focus on new product development. And there it's actually pretty simple. You're going to create some pricing around a product and you're going to start driving adoption of that product, and are you moving it in the market? And in some ways, that's what makes new product development very easy. The question with new product development is you excite your sales team around selling the new thing. Of course they're going to sell the new thing, because you're telling them you've got the new thing. Every salesperson wants the new thing to sell. So one of the challenges there is to looking beyond those particular, even revenue in some ways is a vanity metric. The question is, can you make a sustainable business out of this new product? So, I can't say that, like anyone, that's actually a very hard problem to solve. But I think what you can do is combine those revenue and adoption-based metrics with NPS and with other things to really understand. And I think part of the issue there too is trying to get your sales team to participate in the experiment with you. So if all you do is you say, go back to all your customers and see who you can sell this to, it doesn't really answer the question, can we locate these people and do a repeatable business? So part of the issue is engaging your salespeople in the experiment. Can we go after companies that have between 15 and 25 people that had this existing solution, and within 2 months sell them this new solution for a 1-year contract and 1 month later be able to survey them after the fact and then understand that they're driving some measurable ROI in their business to be able to do things. I think that's part about bringing sales into the experience. I think that's helpful.
Thank you, John. And a lot of product people are listening to us, and a lot of business analysts and UX designers who want to go to product maybe in the nearest future are listening to us. So can you share some part of your wisdom or some inspiration from your side with them?
So the only wisdom I have about product management is it's just fucking hard. There's no anyone who Greg LeMond is this cyclist. He's an American cyclist who won the Tour de France a couple of times, and he had a statement that it doesn't get easier, you just go faster. And I think that that's similar to product management or similar. Every company will have problems. Every company will be struggling, and it's really about solving the most important problem. We had this interesting part of the talk where we talked about having a sense of the horizon and then the problem that you're trying to tackle right now. So this problem and the problem on the horizon. Mm-hmm. And what we tend to get is we tend to get very much stuck in the middle. Like, what's 10 feet in front of us? What's 15 feet in front of us? And the challenge there is that doesn't really add a lot of value, because that's going to change. Horizons stay fairly constant. Right in front of you changes, but it's real enough that you can address what's happening. So the only wisdom I can get around that is don't focus as much on the problems that are 10 feet in front of you. Focus what's 1 foot in front of you and the horizon, the 100 feet or 1,000 feet in front of you to do those things, because I think that's where you can deliver the most value as a product person. If you get stuck in too much planning and stuck in too much tension in your organization and too much of that mess, you're really not delivering value, to that thing. So I guess that's, it seems kind of conceptual, but I think just thinking like, what problem do I have right now? And where am I going down the road? Don't worry about the stuff in the middle.
Thank you. As in life.
Yeah, exactly. Nothing changes really. So.
Thank you, John. Thank you for this interesting talk, and really nice to meet you here and have you here.
Yeah, I've had a wonderful time in Lviv. It's been, it's been an amazing conference. Thanks.
Thanks.